Welcome to the Body Smart Podcast, where we remove roadblocks to fitness and health to empower you to master your health habits. We help you become body smart.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Body Smart Podcast. Excited to have you in here with us today. I've got a special guest, the Soul Runner. So Krista Wolfe, she is soulrunner.krista on Instagram. And so look her up, awesome stuff that she posts. So invited her in today to come and do a metabolic test and see how she does when she runs. She crushed it. What was it again? 55.1. So she did awesome with her VO2 max. But really what was more impressive than her VO2 max was how good of a fat burner she is. So actually the way she's training and running right now is really crushing it for her. She can go pretty hard and kind of push her paces and still be burning an optimal amount of fat so that she can keep running harder and harder. So she's doing good and has been improving and stuff. So you said you've been PRing most of your races and stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I started off, I ran my first marathon a few years ago, and it was like a 4:17. And I recently, after having a baby, I think it was like 9 months postpartum, I ran my second marathon and got a 3:50.
All right.
Yeah, recently.
That's a huge improvement.
It was a big deal.
Awesome stuff.
So recently I've been training for my third and
nice.
And I feel like I'm getting faster, so
faster and faster. It'll be good.
Hopefully we'll get another PR.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So we're excited to have her in to learn more about how she is as a runner and kind of how she got started and everything. So really, really fun, and it's fun to see like people out there doing and getting better and improving by leading that healthy lifestyle. And so I kind of want to ask about that. I know a little bit about your background story, right? So tell us more about how you kind of got started into health and fitness and running.
Yeah, sure. My origin story.
Your origin story, as it were, yes.
I was Bane earlier on with the mask.
With the mask, seriously.
So I grew up I was always pretty athletic.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the swim team.
Oh, cool.
I played volleyball. I loved sports growing up. But I was always overweight. Okay. I was always a little chubbier. Then the last couple of years of high school, I just got, I got kind of just lazy, and it got to a point where I was like, you know what, I don't want to feel like this anymore.
Yeah.
So I kind of got into learning about health and nutrition and, just basic information, like the 3,500 calories is a pound of weight. And I thought, okay, well, that's easy. I just cut my calories and I lose weight.
Right.
So I started doing, getting into the fitness videos, and I was building up my cardio, and I was losing weight, and I was like, oh, this is, it's working. I had about 40 pounds to lose, so it was quite a bit of time.
Sure. It takes a while.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. But then, I Googled, oh, well, what's the best way to lose weight? Like, what's the best, what burns the most calories? And that was running.
Yeah.
So I slowly started building up, running. I would go for a quarter mile. I hated running as a kid, so it was like so hard to get myself to run.
Right. It was funny. I felt the same way as a kid. So running to me until I was an adult was like a punishment for poor performance in sports, right?
Exactly.
Like you screw up in sports, you go run laps.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly my mentality.
Dry land was the worst. It was that swim team. Yeah. Right. So I mean, it was hard. It was hard to get myself to go a quarter mile without stopping, and then half a mile. But then, once I got to like the mile mark, it was like, oh, this is kind of fun. Like I like this, but
awesome.
But at the same time, I was cutting my calories so much that it was hard. Running was hard.
Yeah, you start feeling terrible with each run.
Yeah. So I mean, I lost a lot of weight, and then I got into college in the freshman 15. I'm binging on Oreos and peanut butter with my roommates, and it started coming back, and so I decided, you know what, I want to run, train for my first half marathon.
Cool.
Which was fun. Yeah. It was so much fun, but I gained weight while I was training.
While you're training.
And I think that's pretty normal.
It is really normal. A lot of people, especially because they're like, well, I've earned it. Right?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
I've worked out so I can eat more.
Oh,
right?
yeah. And like the group think with my roommates is like, oh, well, we just ran 7 miles, so we can, eat this tub of ice cream and be fine. So yeah, it kind of, after that half marathon, I did really well. I had fun. I loved running. But it got to a point where I was at this weight that I wasn't happy with.
Yeah.
I didn't like the way I looked, at that age, 18,
Yeah.
19 years old. It's
Right.
hard to, I'm dating, I want to look
Right.
good. And so I would just
Right.
go out on no food, try and run 8 miles on no food. And I just ended up injuring myself. I hated running. I would cry because I couldn't run.
Right.
It was depressing. I kind of hit, just a low in terms of like my attitude towards health, wellness, fitness, just like yo-yo dieting, all of that.
Yeah.
And I just I took a break. I said, you know what, I need a break. And at that time I got to serve an LDS mission in Chile.
In Chile?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that was really fun. And I kind of learned more, about myself.
Oh, totally.
It was separating myself from all of the, all of the drama,
just life, social
the
media,
boys,
everything.
All of that, even family, it was nice to just, because, my family comes from, I come from a family that is very active. My dad, was all about marathons, my brothers,
awesome.
And that's great, but as, it was I was kind of vulnerable,
right.
Trying
made
to hit
you
those
kind of feel left out or the expectation.
Yeah, so kind of escaping that for a little while was really good for me, and I was able to spend time away. I gained a lot of weight, but I was happy. I was doing something that I love to do. I was around people who loved me. I loved them.
Right.
I was serving. I was just kind of in my happy place, and I felt like I kind of learned how to be myself at that point and be happy with who I was, even 40 pounds
isn't it
overweight.
Right. Isn't that interesting that when kind of your life isn't about you, you wind up being happier. Like, even though body image wise and all those things may not have been lined up with what your ideal in your head was, like, because you were focusing so much on something else and something that really meant a lot to you, you could be happy.
Exactly.
Right. Without focusing on that.
It was, I was away from all of that. And
right.
So it was a little slap in the face to come home, but it was okay. I said I need to get back to a healthy weight, a healthy lifestyle. So I got back into running, but it was so much healthier in a way that was so much healthier.
That's
eating
awesome.
and getting into running, it was just way more fun. And I think so that's why I told you earlier, I love the Soul Run. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Brink? Earlier on.
Brink.
It's a Disney movie. It's a Disney original movie, and it's
not.
about skateboarders. No, rollerbladers.
Rollerbladers.
Rollerbladers. It was like,
I don't think so.
90s kids will all know who Brink is. But so it's this kid who he has his little posse, and they love rollerblading, and they have another a group of kids who rollerblade, but they're sponsored. And Brink says, their little motto is, I skate for fun. I'm a soul skater.
Soul skater.
And so that's kind of how I think.
The soul runner.
Yeah, the soul
I like
runner.
it.
It's like, I run for fun. I don't run to lose weight anymore.
Right.
It happens to be a great way to stay in shape and a great way, to lose weight, but I don't do it just for that anymore.
Right.
Like I wanted to train my mind to say, no, I do this because it keeps me happy and it keeps me motivated, and it I love the fact that I can have a goal and reach that goal and then set another goal, reaching my potential. So
I love that focus instead of being on weight or being on things that make you, again, that are I say this a lot, I guess, to my audience. So like those external motivators versus internal motivators. So the things that like weight or like body image that really are your reflection of how people see you versus like what you really want to do and how you want to live. Those internal motivators, like, this is the lifestyle that I want to lead, and so that motivates us so much more than like this is how I want to look or money or those things don't drive us quite the same.
Exactly.
And so what an awesome focus to have.
Yeah, I mean, it took a while, and it took some pain and heartache to get there, but I feel like I've slowly gotten to a point where it's like, no, this is my, like, I found my passion, which is so nice. Like, I know a lot of people out there can't say that they're really passionate about a lot of stuff.
Right.
So it's nice that I found a passion of mine
that
I can use toward like that's good for me and
right.
that
A healthy outlet.
me, exactly.
Yeah.
Especially as a mom.
Right. No, exactly. A mom that works, so you've got a full-time job plus a 1-year-old.
Yeah.
Like it's busy. That's a busy life.
It is busy.
And so to have something that you can go to in many ways, like I think running is probably one of the greatest mental health drugs available, right?
Oh yeah, cheaper than therapy.
Yeah, definitely cheaper than therapy. And so what a cool perspective to have on running. Now you kind of said to me, I'm not the fastest runner, I'm not the best runner and stuff. Yeah, but that that's okay. And you can work on getting faster, right? Like you are, but you don't have to necessarily be a great runner to enjoy running.
Exactly. Well, and I love the movements on Instagram, that I have a runner's body. What qualifies you to have a runner's body? You have a body and you run. Like that's all it takes.
Well, I'll tell you what, when I'm always frustrated when I run a marathon and I get passed by like this 70-year-old guy or this lady that is 10 times taller and bigger than me, and I'm like, what? How is this possible? But like it happens all the time where you get passed by somebody that you're like, there's no way that person should be able to pass me.
Yeah.
I in fact, I was at an aid station one time. I had during a race, I really cramped up in my hip, and so I stopped at an aid station really quick. And as I was coming back out, I grabbed a banana and started eating it. And this old guy, he was really old, was like, "It's okay, man. We've all been there." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, no." No, it was so embarrassing. And the funny part was I was like, that's it. That guy's not beating me. And he did.
And he did.
He totally did.
Good for him.
Yeah, no, props to him. It was awesome. But I felt really embarrassed. He really got a pretty good time though too. Funny though.
Yeah.
But so you don't have to be an ultra elite runner to enjoy running or to talk about running or to
be good at it.
Yeah, or to be good at it. Yeah, I love that. Because you really don't have to be an elite marathoner or whatever to say that you're a runner. Like really the qualifications are you get out and run.
Yeah, you
and
run and
just be consistent with it.
You do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You are a runner if you run. And that I have a runner's body. It's like you don't have to be, there are a lot of great I think Ali Kiefer, I love her messaging because she is an elite runner. She places in these huge races, and she is all about the strong, not skinny, all of that. And it's just I love those messaging, that messaging, those messages for younger girls or for, even, women who recently had kids and need to find a way to, they need a community or they need just support or an outlet, like you said. It's just
something that allows them to be motivated and
you don't have to qualify for it in some certain way.
Absolutely. I think that's so important. I see that with my wife. So we've got 4 boys, and so she's a multi-time Boston qualifier. Like she's a pretty good runner.
Yeah.
But for her, it really is about the mental release more than anything. In fact, she often is like, I don't like training for marathons. She's like, I like running, but training for a marathon is a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But she loves to run. But for her, it really is more about preserving her ability to do the things she wants to do. Like her family is a very active family, probably a lot like yours. So all of her siblings like played a college sport, or most of them anyway. And she's from a big family, so 9 kids. So, just very athletic family, but they do stuff all the time. It's like, let's go play tennis. We like enter volleyball leagues and stuff. Yeah. And we will go like hike some random mountain every so often and things like that. And so you kind of have to be fit to be able to do all that stuff. So really that's her point for running and for being in shape, is to be able to say at any given point, if somebody asks her to go do something, to be like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah. And not have her health or her body or something like that be the limitation. I always say that with my patients, that I want your first thought to be, when we're all done, I want your first thought to be, when can I go? And not, can my back do that, or can my knees do that, or like can my heart and lungs do that? If somebody asks you to do anything, right? That you're in good enough shape and a good enough mental place about your health and wellness that you can be like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it. Yeah. I used to stress over hikes that I would go on with my family.
Yeah.
And that, like, I don't want to live like, you know, that's not a good way to live. It's so, exactly, like you said, to be able to, you know, like last week, I went and I visited my husband's family down in Tennessee. Yeah. And it was so nice to just, you know, my sister-in-law asked if I wanted to go to the gym with the class. I never would have ever done that, you know, earlier on, but it was like, yeah, let's go. That sounds fun. And I held my own, and you know, it was fun.
Right. Intimidation free. Right. Because you know that your fitness level, like, you may not be the best at Zumba or whatever. Exactly. But you can do it without dying or embarrassing yourself.
And say yes to the invitation. You know,
I couldn't do Zumba. I'm not coordinated enough.
Believe me, I can't. That's why I run.
My sister-in-law does. She's a high fitness trainer.
Oh, cool.
And that whole idea, like, she's a really good dancer and stuff, and that's kind of her background that led into it.
Yeah,
I could
wish.
never do that. That doesn't even, like, I think it's a good, like, something to do for your fitness every so often to, like, it's fun and motivating and
it's different than running. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
It's different muscles.
But I don't think that I could do it.
But yeah,
I'm nervous about that. So anyway, but yeah, running really is it's kind of the universal sport. Anybody can do it because running looks different for whoever. If you're running as walking right now, that's fine. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, it still counts. And you're just in a building phase to where you can jog and to where you can then run. Yeah. And so just start where you're at and don't be bashful about it, right?
Yeah, totally. Just own it.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, yeah, when I first started running, one of the scariest things was going outside and running outside. Yeah. It was hard for me to transition from the treadmill to outside because I was like, well, I'm jiggling in places I don't want to jiggle. Right. You know, like, people are watching me, but it was just like, you know what? It's not about that. It's about you getting out and enjoying the world around you.
Right. And seeing it, feeling it. Yeah. And it should be about you for that moment, right? It should be about you and your, leading your life on your terms.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think that's such an important skill, I guess, or just mentality to have, or to gain throughout life, is to just slowly not care about what other people think. To just do what makes you happy and go for it and take risks and chances and you know, signing up for a half marathon or a marathon, that's taking a chance. That's scary.
It is scary.
Or, you know, getting on social media and saying, hey, I'm trying to be healthy, I want a community, you know, to support me. Like, that's scary. Like, those,
it is scary.
But it's putting yourself out there and allowing people to help you and support you.
Right. Oftentimes in those times where we're most vulnerable is where we grow the most.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's being willing to put yourself in that vulnerable place to get the feedback or to get that growing experience that you never get if you stay in your cocoon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, when you just open yourself to opportunities when you put yourself out there, and being a part of the running community gives you a lot of opportunities to grow and to learn.
What was one of those aha moments for you where you kind of got over that fear? So you mentioned kind of that fear of jiggling or you know, all those things of getting out and transitioning to the road. What was one of the biggest, like, aha moments of, like, you know what, I'm fine, I can do this?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm trying to think. I think maybe when I felt like that runner's high, that might have been it, because that just gave me this feeling of, like, freedom. I don't know. Yeah. You know that feeling where, because you don't get it every run. No. But I think one time, I have a specific run in mind. We were traveling down in Florida at Disney World. Yeah. And I think the elevation, changed the altitude down to sea level, kind of gave me, you know, that
little boost. Yeah.
And I went out, and it was the first time I had just, like, ran continuously for like, I think it was like 2 miles, you know, probably at like a 9:30 pace.
Sure.
But I just felt like I was flying. there weren't treadmills at the hotel, so I had to run outside.
That's awesome.
It was nighttime. There was sprinklers, like, in my face. I think someone, like, you know, said hi, you know, like, waved and said hi, and they were just nice. And it was just like, you know what, this like, this is fun. This is where I don't want to be stuck on a
Right. Yeah.
treadmill is a necessary evil sometimes.
Sometimes it is.
But that really was like an eye-opening moment. Like, this is fun. Like, this is what I want to do.
That's
and
awesome.
It just, that runner's high.
Yeah. Those brief moments where you're like, I can do this. And like, I enjoy this and I can go, like I'm actually, in this moment, I feel good at this. Yeah.
And I think that was a really big turning point.
Cool.
Where I was like, you know what? I don't really care. Like,
right.
if I can feel this way, like, about myself, then I don't really care what anyone else thinks. Like, that's why awesome. Should I? So
that's so awesome. So you've had a big transformation in your life a couple of times where you've lost a bunch of weight and like really gotten in shape. How has it been then to transition from weight loss to like life?
Yeah, that's been hard. It's been weird.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of always in this state of, or I used to always be in a state of, well, I need to lose this much weight. I need to lose this much weight. I need to lose this much. Even when I was, pretty healthy, even right now, like I do have to admit that it's like, well, if I
what about that
lost
next 5 pounds?
5 to 10 pounds, maybe I could get this much faster.
Right.
But I mean, I feel like when I gained weight with my little boy when I was pregnant, I still didn't even reach the weight that I was at when I was at my highest.
Yeah.
So it was a lot easier to lose that baby weight than I thought it would be. It came off, it was hard. Don't get me wrong, it was hard.
Right.
But it got to a point where I was like, oh, like I need to stop having this mentality of, okay, well, I need to get to this weight.
Right.
It was more of like, I need to eat like an athlete. Like I need to eat to perform. I need to live my life. I can't just like restrict. So
I love that.
Yeah, that was a really big deal, coming from, I got to where I was at before the baby,
right?
And I'm at this weight, but I want to do better with my running. I need fuel to do that.
Right.
Like kind of putting those, like matching those points.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, yeah, no, food is important.
It is important.
I need to eat that.
And it's not like, I feel like so many people's relationship with food is so negative, right?
Totally.
I get so many women that feel guilty even for eating, period.
Yeah.
And it's not.
No, I used to count
not healthy. Yeah.
kale calories. And it's like, why are you doing this?
Try to eat too much kale. I dare you. Like,
really though. Don't do that. It's just like not mentally.
Yeah.
I want to be able to go on a vacation and enjoy myself,
right.
eat the fried food for a day or two. You know what I mean?
Right.
And be able to come back and get into my lifestyle of, okay,
right.
I need my protein, I need my carbs, I need to replenish. And I feel like that running has really, really helped me develop that healthy relationship with food because I've learned that I do perform better on carbs.
When you eat
fruits and vegetables. And when I recover the right way and with the right things, and so running has just changed my life.
I would agree.
My happy place.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I believe in the 80-20 running principle. Anybody that follows me knows that. Like that's my go-to for how to train. But I believe that 80-20 principle, there's actually a business author that writes about how the 80-20 principle applies to business. And I really think that 80-20 principle applies to a lot of things in life, but I think to nutrition as well. Mm-hmm. Like if 80% of the time I'm buying the right things and that's what I have in my house, and 80% of the time I'm eating a healthy, balanced diet, then that other 20% of the time when I go to a family party and there's jalapeno poppers or ice cream and cake or whatever, like that's fine if that's more the exception rather than the rule. Right. Yeah. If what I occasionally eat isn't the best choice, and I try, you still got to be sensible. It's like you can have cake and not cake, right? I think you got to be careful there, obviously, but within reason. If most of the time I'm eating that healthy diet, then I shouldn't have to worry about the others.
You've gotta have that little cushion,
right?
Because otherwise, and I've definitely been there where it's just like I restrict, and then binge. It's just like
such a common story of like I haven't had ice cream for 3 months, and it's like, great, when are you? And then, you know, they come back 2 weeks later and they're like, and I just had a whole pint of ice cream.
Yeah.
You know, like
Or
eventually,
5.
yeah. But yeah, well, eventually something happens in life that like is a trigger for them, right? Especially if that's your thing, is emotional eating and stuff, you will, like, that's a guarantee that you'll have a trigger. And so if you've restricted, you're more likely to just go for it.
Yeah.
Than be like, okay, I'm feeling this way. This is how much I'm going to have to meet that craving right away, rather than let that craving build up to where it's catastrophic, right?
Yep, I've definitely experienced that multiple times in my
Right.
life.
Well, I think most people have.
Yeah.
And if it's not food, it's something. Most of us do have some kind of that binge thing that we do. Mine is often like Netflix.
Yeah.
Or
that
whatever.
Never happens to me.
Yeah.
I binge on everything.
I'm like I've always got something going while I'm doing something else. And
that's
so,
like my husband.
Yeah.
And I mean, speaking of that, I think relationships are a big deal too.
Yeah.
Because when I got married, I feel like, I married the right person, and I feel like he accepted me for who I was, no matter what. And it just kind of got to a point where it's like, I feel like I haven't really, I would fall back quite a bit before that. And now that I have that stable relationship, I feel like, I'm solid there. And I feel like my body has kind of, learned that. I think that the mind, the heart, the emotions, the body, it's all intertwined. And when I'm healthy everywhere else, my relationships are healthy. I feel like it creates this environment for my body to be healthy as well, or
to really thrive.
Or when my body's healthy, it creates an environment for my mind and emotions to be in the right place, because I'm a very emotionally driven person.
Sure.
And my husband is not, and I think he just kind of grounded me in some ways that I would never, I'm all about independent women, I'm all about that, like empowering women, but we need good relationships. I needed someone to ground me, to help me, think that way. And I think that's something to call out too.
I absolutely. I think some people do feel like that somehow is like unempowering by saying that. But I would say our relationships really matter in our life. No matter how independent we are, our relationships matter so much, because even if it's a friend relationship or a coworker, if we have relationships in our life that really are negative, that we dread, or that are hard and we battle them, that creates so much stress in our life, and it really keeps us from meeting so many of the other goals that we have. And it is often the key source of those triggers and other things like that.
Yeah.
And so who we surround ourselves with really does make up a lot of our confidence.
Yeah.
And so I would say it's less about being dependent on that person and more about surrounding yourself with the people that allow you to be your best and don't bring you down.
Yeah.
And so
those negative influences.
And those influences that are negative, either eliminating them or working on them, like trying to change that, because sometimes you don't necessarily want to change your spouse, but if that if that relationship isn't where it's supposed to be, working on that really does. Those moments where you have breakthroughs and stuff really do help alleviate a lot of that stress. And life's never going to be perfect. Every relationship has friction points, but finding the right person, or surrounding yourself with the right group of people really makes a big difference. And that's one thing too with the running community that I love. There's a lot of great people in running.
I am just like astonished at, I was really, really nervous getting into social media, especially, as my following grew. It just is scary, and you hear these like horror stories about, people saying things and just mean and attacking. But gosh, like I am just like, I don't know, like I could get emotional just thinking about how kind and loving and thoughtful the running community is out there. Like I've never had to delete mean comments. That's awesome. That's so great. It's just it's really, really empowering, and just the support of like, oh, you're here, like you got to do this, you got to do that, or oh, are you running this marathon, like you got to do that, you got just like the tips, the support, the love, like it's so fun.
It's so true. You can go into any like running group and post a question and you'll get 100 answers. Like of this is my experience, blah, blah, blah. So much support.
Yeah.
People love to share because they've been down that road. They've had that struggle before. Like, I think that's so much of it is we've all kind of, like as you run, you come across the same like barriers.
Exactly.
And it's
same
like,
roadblocks.
Yeah, like when I take this, in works or in race supplement or whatever, it makes my stomach all crazy. What do you guys do? And you get like 100 different responses of what works for them, or all these other things that like people really are supportive, and it's a cool community for sure.
Yeah, I definitely I like that community more than the fitness community, more than like the general the aesthetic. Like it's all about how my butt looks, and
right.
all of that.
Way too much of that, right?
There's a lot, so it's nice to have that little, the group on the side.
That's not about how you look in your spandex and whatever, right? Like how you look in your running shorts or whatever. Yeah. No, something that is really there to build people up and build a community and stuff. So awesome stuff. So you're building your own community now with your brand, which is pretty cool. So that's soulrunner.Krista on Instagram. She's got a pretty good following going, and so she posts about really neat stuff. She opens up quite a bit about herself and her running. And so if you want to follow Krista, again, soulrunner.Krista on Instagram. And she's got a blog there, and the link is there in her profile. So check that out. So awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to learn more about you and your life and kind of how you've gotten to where you are with running as really kind of your answer to happiness in your life in a lot of ways, right?
Totally.
It does. It keeps us grounded. So thanks so much for joining.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you in here today. And again, she crushed it on that podcast. So what she's doing is working. She's doing awesome. So thanks so much, Krista, and thanks for watching. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to the Body Smart Podcast. Join us in the Body Smart community on Facebook to share your successes or ask a question for our next episode. Now get out there and take the next step toward living your active lifestyle.